When I was on the Charter Commission, the Charter Review Committee, it was not a commission, we had complaints brought before us of certain things where people were not doing all of the things we'd like to have seen. And there were suggestions that we change the structure of town government in order to rectify these problems. It was taking too large a tool to the problem. You don't want to completely change the form of your government because one or two people in that government are not functioning properly. That's the way Central American republics sometimes change their governments. It's not the way I'd like to see things done where I live. I would frankly hope that we could see just such a committee appointed by a responsible board of selectmen precisely to get the strongest possible statement on behalf of the issues being raised. And I'd like to put that challenge to the selectmen. I don't want to be trying to circumvent the structure of the charter. The amendment that we've already approved that gives the appointing authority to the moderator at least removes the greatest, the most opprobrious problem. We would not be seeing a self-perpetuating committee. But we still have a committee being proposed here with no clear life. Does it end with the report in 93? What happens if no report is made in 93? Does it go on forever? I don't know. I want to know. I also want to see the challenge placed precisely where it belongs. I want to see it done properly by a board of selectmen which cares about what is best for North Reading.
Mr. Quayle, please state your name and address, sir. The proponents have 2 minutes after the motion to terminate debate has been voted, which it hasn't yet. So, on the motion to terminate debate, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. On the motion, which is the second-tier amendment, which would delete the following sentence from the first-tier amendment. And the sentence reads, that the committee further study the feasibility of the use of surplus monies from the operation of the Hillview facility as the source of funding for such uses and improvements or potential acquisitions for purposes mentioned above. On this second-tier amendment, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. A vote in favor will delete that sentence. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Opposed. The amendment is lost. Okay, now we are back to the first-tier amendment. Is there any... The lady over there, please state your name and address, madam. Another motion for the question. And that is another motion to terminate debate. Again, on the motion to terminate debate, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Point of order, Mr. Sandorfi, state your point of order.
The amended motion has not been discussed at all.
That's true. A unanimous vote of this... The chair would normally rule a motion to terminate debate out of order if it is given that early in the debate. But the main motion, as amended, before it was amended, has been extensively debated, and I think that people understand the impact of the amendment very well. So the chair will allow the previous vote to stand. On the motion to amend now, this is the first-tier amendment. This is the amendment that gets added to the selectman's or the town administrator's original motion. And the chair will now read that amendment as it now stands. I move that town meeting establish a committee of 7 citizens appointed by the moderator to study and investigate the feasibility of acquisition and or utilization of lands within the town for use as open space, aquifer, floodplain and wetlands protection, passive recreation, recreation sites, parklands and other similar uses consistent with the enhancement of the quality of life in North Reading. That the committee shall be called the Land Utilization Committee. That the committee further study the feasibility of the use of surplus monies from the operation of the Hillview facility as the source of funding for such uses and improvements or potential acquisitions for purposes mentioned above. That the committee shall be authorized to appoint such non-voting associate members as it deems expedient and necessary. That all boards and committees and departments of the town are instructed to cooperate and assist the committee in every reasonable manner. And that the committee shall make a report including any proposed warrant articles to implement its recommendations to be presented on or before the 1993 annual town meeting. You've heard the motion to amend. There is a point of order from the Finance Committee.
What happened to the original portion of the article? Choose officers
That is still there. That is still there. So right now we're voting on the motion to amend, which adds what I've just read to the original motion. Point of order, Mr. Silvestro.
I think the amendment included would be appointed by the moderator. That's not mentioned yet.
Yes, it is. It's part of the introduction. So, just to clarify it, sir, I move that town meeting establish a committee of 7 citizens appointed by the moderator, and so forth, etc., and I won't read it all over again. You've heard the motion. Now the proponents of the amendment have 2 minutes. Since they don't wish to make use of their 2 minutes, on the motion to amend, all those in favor, please say aye.
Point of order. I've had my hand up several times.
Oh, you did have your hand up.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Mr. Armeling.
Thank you. I guess 2 points come to mind right now. First of all, I'm very aware of some good points I think that have been brought up, especially with regard to the self-perpetuating nature of this committee. I think that is something that I and we who put this thing together perhaps didn't think through. I freely admit I am no politician and no expert on parliamentary procedure and those things. And I would freely, Mr. Moderator, strike that section about this being a self-perpetuating committee out. I have no intentions of, and when I say I think I'm speaking for the 100 people who've signed this motion, that have no intentions of sticking anything down anybody's throat. And furthermore, I'd like to state that I am not aware, not being a political person, of any tensions and all the history that exists between selectmen and Hillview commissions. I don't know most of the people involved and really don't read that much about it. It hasn't been an interest of mine. I think that the intention here is somewhat limited and is somewhat simple, and I'm willing to strike the section about it being self-perpetuating and go from there, I think. Thank you.
On the motion to amend the original motion, all those in favor of so amending the original motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The chair is in doubt. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand, and would my tellers please go to work and starting to count. Ms. Fitzgerald, please count the people at the tables too. How many? 35. Mr. Reitmeyer?
32.
32. Ms. Fitzgerald?
49.
49. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. Ms. 23? Mr. Reitmeyer?
11.
11. Ms. Fitzgerald? 24. The vote on the amendment is 116 in favor and 58 opposed. The motion stands amended. So that now we are to the main motion, which consists of the amendment that you have just finished voting on, plus the original motion of the town administrator, which is to authorize the Board of Selectmen to choose all necessary town officers not elected by ballot and to determine what instructions shall be given. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. On the main motion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion is carried. Article 2. Before we proceed with Article 2, the chair will interview candidates for the Land Use Committee. Is that what it's called? For the Land Utilization Committee over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. And the people whose names were originally submitted for consideration by the meeting will be contacted. And the chair would request anybody else who has interest in a position on this committee to contact me, and we will interview anybody who is interested, assuming that the numbers are within reason. Mrs. Cerrone just pointed out that the Board of Selectmen has a citizens activity form, which I believe, of which there is a copy in the warrant. At least there used to be. Yes, there is. If you look on the inside back cover, so if you're interested in that committee, it would be very helpful if you filled out one of these forms and sent it in to me. I'm sure that if you send it to the town moderator, attention town hall, Mr. Daly will see to it that it reaches me. Article 2. Mr. Daly.
Mr. Moderator, I move to accept the printed town report for the year 1991 as the report of town officers and committees, and to hear other reports as may be presented at this meeting.
The motion is to accept the printed town report for the year 1991 as the report of town officers and committees, and to hear other reports as may be presented at this meeting. Town administrator just advised the chair that the printed annual report is not yet available at this time and will be delivered from the printers on Wednesday. So if anybody wishes to move to postpone rather than to rubber stamp something that is not yet in front of you, that might be an appropriate thing to do, but we might expedite the meeting by just going on with it. Mr. Sylvia.